right, just bear with me a second. We'll get started here just shortly. Hello, everybody. That was a terrible response. So, thank you for being courteous with the mics this time. Well, good evening. Obviously, I'm Sheriff Joe Lombardo with Clark County. This will be one of many press conferences we have provided in order to provide the public information that is occurring. And then, so the sequence of these events tonight, I will provide you some, can we get some help back there? I will provide you a sequence of some updates of the investigation as we have moved forward since the last time we spoke to you. Any specifics or continuance of any global investigative leads that you need to be aware of. Special Agent Aaron Rouse will provide that information associated with that. Okay? And then subsequently I will return to the podium, assist with some Q&A, and then Commissioner Sislak is available if you have any questions of the Commissioner. And then obviously we have Senator Dean Heller who wish to address the audience also. So, President Trump. I think he was in town today. Yes, he was in town. And the reason why I bring up President Trump is nothing to do, in fact, with President Trump, but to do with the police department. There was some concern because of his visit that investigations associated with this case would be delayed or hindered. And I'm here to assure you none of that occurred. There was a separation of personnel associated with first responders of the Harvest Festival event that took the opportunity to meet with Mr. Trump, and he had the opportunity to congratulate them for their heroic acts. The investigators are directly related to this investigation, both on my department and the FBI, were not part of that. So I want everybody assured there was no hindrance in continuance of the investigation. Return of property. There's a lot of questions going on with that, and I wish I could provide you answers with that. We will try to post on lbmpd.com as soon as we can advise victims when they can receive their personal property. We are still evaluating the crime scene. Until that completes, the property phase will not occur. So the best of my understanding of where we're at, we're looking at 4 to 5 days. So I know that sounds troublesome, but it's important that we dot the I's and cross the T's as far as the evidentiary and possible prosecution in the future. Injuries. Injury number that we are using today, 489. Of that 489, 317 have been discharged from the hospital. So the question is, Sheriff, you provided several different numbers associated with that, all the way up to 527. Now you got to imagine we're dispersed across several hospitals. We're relying on internal communication of the hospitals to provide us accurate numbers. So that's ever changing. And additionally, hospitals receive patients outside of this event. So quite often, or hopefully not quite often, but often, some of those patients were double counted or they were misconstrued as event injuries versus other injuries such as car accidents. So today I'm comfortable in saying the injured number is 489. Deaths still remain at 59. I had told you 59 before, plus 1 being the suspect. That changed. Today it's 58, plus 1, the suspect, 59, and it was the same reason that occurred before, as I explained. So hope you understand that. Nobody wants that number to go up, and by the grace of God, it went down. That's a good thing. So today I will provide you some updates on our investigation of the mass shooting Sunday night at Route 91. More than 100 investigators have spent the last 72 hours combing through the life of 64-year-old Stephen Paddock to produce a profile of someone I will call disturbed and dangerous. What we know is Stephen Paddock is a man who spent decades acquiring weapons and ammo and living a secret life, much of which will never be fully understood. He meticulously planned on the worst domestic attack in United States history. As many of you already reported, Paddock rented a room at the Ogden Hotel in downtown Las Vegas. This has been confirmed. Okay? Reasons that ran through Paddock's mind is unknown, but it was directly during the same time as Life is Beautiful. We have recovered evidence from that location. We don't know if it is evidence, but we have recovered items in video evidence. And I don't want to, you know what, I'm using the wrong term. Evidence is not the term. We have recovered video from there to review Mr. Paddock's actions while he was there. Now it's important for you to understand, this was not, the rooms were not rented by the Ogden. It was done through Airbnb by a private owner unknown to the Ogden. So we have very great cooperation from the owners of Life is Beautiful and the Ogden, and they're in full cooperation. Okay, while we have already spoken to many people who have contacted with Stephen Paddock at hotels and places he frequented, we still have more interviews to conduct. Since Monday, there have been many questions for us to release a timeline, and today we have one. I want to point out the information previously reported on the time of the first shot was based on a CAD report. That's our computer-aided dispatch. That's what we do for calls for service. So that report is dependent on who a particular person calling in and that timestamp. But what we have done through the review of body-worn cameras, we are able to pull it back to previously from 10:08 to 10:05. So Carlos. So I'm going to give you the chance to review that, take photographs of it, and I'll walk you through each timeline. So at 10:05, the first shots fired by the suspect. This was seen on closed-circuit television from the concert venue. 10:12, first two officers arrived on the 31st floor and announced that gunfire is coming from directly above them. 10:15, the last shots were fired from the suspect per body-worn camera. So if you're looking at the math, 10 minutes. 10:17, the first two officers arrive on the 32nd floor. 10:18, security officer tells the LVMPD officers he was shot and gives the exact location of the suspect's room. Now you notice a minute delta there. Before they broadcasted it, obviously they were in a conversation with the security guard immediately upon them exiting the elevators. Between 10:26 and 10:30, 8 additional officers arrived on the 32nd floor and began to move systematically down the hallway, clearing each room and looking for any injured people. They moved this way because no longer hear the gunfire of the active shooter situation. 10:55, 8 officers arrive in the stairwell at the opposite end of the hallway nearest the suspect's room. So when I say nearest the suspect's room, you can imagine the doorway of the hotel room. This stairwell and this door access is approximately 2 to 3 feet away. 11:20, the first breach was set off and officers entered the suspect's room. They observed the suspect down on the ground and also saw a second door that could not be accessed from their position. So it's a suite, and you have a main area of the suite, which is a living room, kitchen, dinette area, and then on opposite ends of that is 2 bedrooms. I'm sorry, where did I leave off? Somebody yell it out. Okay, so if you do the math on that, all the way up to 11:20 from 10:05, we're looking at 75 minutes. So the young lady here in the front with the red phone, you had mentioned 72 minutes, so now you see where those minutes came from. Okay? At 11:27, the second breach was set off, allowing officers to access the second room, and no one else was located within the hotel room. Okay, these are following extenuating circumstances as to why it may appeared that there was some delay or undue delay in reaching the suspects. Okay, the officers in the first strike team reached this 32nd floor within 12 minutes, which is phenomenal, of the first shot being fired. When the officers arrived and confirmed the location of the suspect's room, the gunfire had stopped. In accordance with their training, the officers retrieved a master key card from the injured security guard and began to systematically clear each hotel room. So imagine the elevator bank in the center, 150 feet down on a triplex hotel was the suspect's room. So there's several rooms along the way. Because of no firing was occurring, they could not hear additional firing. They believed it was important to evacuate in case the suspect was barricaded. While the first strike team did this, the second team, made up of 2 K-9 personnel, a SWAT officer, and patrol officers, navigated the numerous stairs wearing heavy tactical gear, carrying a large bag with tactical equipment, and holding rifles in order to have a closer position to the suspect's room. And that is within that stairwell and that doorway adjacent to the room I described previously. They attempted to secure the front doorway of the suspect's room, but as they entered into the hallway, they could see the room service cart, and readily apparent on the room service cart were cameras. So they pulled back and they waited for the approach of a full SWAT team. And keep in mind, this delay was not undue, it was purposeful, and no shots were being heard by the suspect at this point. Eventually a plan was formulated, entry was made, suspect was seen laying on the ground. They encountered a closed bedroom door which was locked, and they breached that door additionally and found no other suspect. Another investigative issue was cameras. Questions was presented about cameras and whether they were recording. We determined none of the cameras were recording. There was 2 cameras on the room service cart out in the hallway. There was one on the peephole of the front door, and additionally there was a baby monitor camera placed in the general family area of the hotel room. None of them were being recorded. One thing I left out was the initial approach, and they looked out in the hallway when they observed the cameras on the room service cart. It was obviously there was several rounds discharged through the door, and through the blast of the bullets through the door, you could actually see a weapon through those openings in the door, but no suspect was seen. Now, those rounds were the strafing rounds that he put through the door in order to shoot at the security guard. Okay, the other thing I wanted to update you on is the search warrant of the suspect's vehicle located at the Mandalay Bay. I had presented that there was ammonium nitrate recovered, but there were several cases within the car that had not been searched yet at the last briefing I provided you with you. So within those cases, there was 10 1-pound containers of tannerite, 2 20-pound containers of tannerite, and approximately 1,600 rounds of ammunition. So Carlos, can you put up the numbers? So tip line, this is an ongoing investigation. We can never not have enough information because we are continuing to run down leads, and it's important for us to get all the information we can on Mr. Paddock, because right now we're trying to prove his intent or understand his intent and the history associated with this, and whether or not he has any accomplices. So we ask people to still call in to 311 If you're out of state, 702-828-311. And then the FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI, and that is investigative and also for electronic media. If you're able to call them, they will provide you the ability to download that online into their system. So at this point, I will provide you Special Agent in Charge, Aaron Rouse, and he will walk you through some of the investigative steps we have accomplished jointly and where we're at in that total investigation. Subsequent to that, I will come back to the podium for any Q&A, and then we will have Commissioner Sisolak and Senator Dean Heller make comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. My name is Aaron Rouse. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for the Las Vegas Division of the FBI. Before I begin, I just want to comment that on behalf of all of the FBI, specifically the Las Vegas Division, our sympathy goes out to all of the families affected by this tragedy. This is our community. It's our community too. We live here, and we will get through this together. The FBI has had a great partnership, continues to have a great partnership with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, as well as our other state and local officials. To say that this investigation will take a while is not surprising. So there's a lot of information that's going to change over time as we determine more facts. But this is what I can tell you. Our resolve is firm. We will get to the bottom of this, no matter how long it takes. The FBI has deployed over 100 personnel from across the nation to assist the Las Vegas Division in this investigation. This includes victim witness assistants, EAP counselors, evidence technicians, and technical assets, not to mention additional agents to help cover leads. The information that the public provides us is going to help us solve this. But we must focus on facts. We cannot give in to conjecture, and we cannot respond to every little Twitter feed that may indicate a theory. We need to focus on the facts. You need us to be right. You expect us to be right, and we want to be right. There's going to be questions. I'm sure you're going to have questions about some people that we've been talking to, maybe people all outside of the United States. The fundamental trust of the American people in the FBI is based upon our discretion. And how good would that discretion be if we were to provide information that they provided to us in confidence? This is about informing on an investigation. This is about resolving an investigation. So specifics regarding any individual contact cannot be answered. You need us, you trust us, and the way we have that trust is by using good discretion about what we share. Additionally, we have multiple leads all across the United States and all across the world to our legal attaches determining the whereabouts and the travel patterns of all the people involved in this investigation, and that list grows. A lot of those leads will go absolutely nowhere, but we have to follow them, and that's going to take some time. Patience is going to be required of all of us. I know we have the patience of this police department because we have great partnership, and we're all interested in the same thing, resolving this issue fairly and factually. With that, I'll turn it back over to Sheriff Lombardo.
Okay, happy to answer questions, and please provide some decorum.
Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
We know that you've had an opportunity in the FBI to speak to Mary Lou Danley. We know that through Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, we know you've had access to his computers, his cell phones, and so forth. And while you're not yet able to tell us exactly, specifically what you found, let me ask a general question.
Okay.
Through all of that information that you've so far arrived at, is there anything that gives you a sense as to what was going on with this matter, what the motive might be? Without saying what it is, are you seeing anything that gives you a direction or any kind of an answer to that question?
Globally, no. I'm sorry to report no, me personally, but I'm not privy to the subsequent interviews that were conducted today. The FBI is not ready to disclose for public consumption what occurred in those interviews as of yet. Sorry for that answer. Yes, sir.
Ms. Danley said to her attorney that during the course of her time with the suspect, that she never saw or heard anything that suggested that he would carry out an act like this. You also said that you were looking for other people associated with him. We had some information specifically that there was a woman that you're looking for to talk to that may have been associated with the suspect. Is that true? You also said in your comments...
Are you going to give me a chance to answer? Can you start from the beginning?
Sorry.
Okay.
The question about Ms. Stanley and her comments to the lawyer that she had no idea what was
Well, I think any person put in her situation would probably answer the same way. But like I said, we're not privy to investigative leads that were obtained today. Mr. Rouse could probably give you some better clarification to that. I haven't been briefed by the FBI on that interview as of yet. What was the other question, sir?
You said that you are still trying to figure out whether he had any accomplices.
Right. Yeah, we're obviously going through that. It's troublesome that this individual was able to move this amount of gear into a hotel room unassisted. It's troublesome for the amount of stuff that he had at both residents unassisted. There's people that know this individual. There's people that could help us understand this individual. Because, you know, interesting enough, I read a periodical earlier today, and it was from an FBI profiler that didn't understand this individual. Usually there's a telltale sign associated with these type of actions, you know, reclusive, a plethora of things associated with this mindset, and we have not found that yet. So what could be more beneficial than to find people that are associated with him either by friendship or accomplice, and for us to determine that.
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Two questions, Sheriff. First, you mentioned in your comments he had a secret life. What do you mean by that?
Well, most of us, not most of us, I don't live through social media, okay? There's a lot of us that live through social media in today's world. There's a lot of people that are interactive in the public. There's a lot of people that have workmates. This individual is retired. We found out that he has some real estate investments. Relationship-wise, it's very hard to determine what has occurred in his life in the last decade or so. We do know that he has a ex-wife. She didn't lead us to any knowledge. We know that everybody knows we talked to his brother. No knowledge was obtained. So anything that would indicate this individual's trigger point and that would cause him to do such harm, we haven't understood it yet. And I think it's important for us to get to there. And you have to be patient with us. Because of this premeditation of this room, this is well thought out. So don't you think the concealment of his history or his life was well thought out? And it's incumbent upon us as professionals to figure that out.
And then besides what he did, that horrific act, are there any other signs of a mental breakdown?
I'm not aware of, I personally have not been briefed on some of his personal background. I'm leaving that to the experts, and I haven't been updated on that yet. So it's going to be frustrating for you, obviously, but you got to remember, and I've said it 100 times, this is an investigation, and we can't be delayed by providing information that would delay our information or cause an individual to go underground. You know all that. Everybody sitting before me knows that. And I just need you to understand it, okay? It's important for you to convey to the public we're doing everything that we possibly can do to bring this to fruition. And I think we are doing that, and I ask you for your patience.
Sheriff, can you confirm whether in the course of your investigation you discovered that perhaps Paddock might have been targeting another concert a week before the concert opened?
Yeah, I mentioned that he had obtained a room at the Ogden, which is located in downtown, at the same time that Life is Beautiful was being conducted.
That leads you to believe
Was he doing pre-surveillance? We don't know yet, okay? This is all conjecture at this point, and that's why it is important for us to have boots on the ground getting the answers.
On the stairwell.
Yes.
There's information out there that the door to the stairwell, the 32nd floor, was barricaded and possibly welded shut. Can you confirm whether that door was welded shut?
It was not welded shut, but it was secured.
Sheriff, have you determined whether he had visitors in his room while he was at the hotel?
No, not as of yet, no.
Sorry, no, not,
As of yet, no. We haven't been able to determine if there's been anybody else in that room besides him.
Sheriff, with the tannerite in the car, does that lead you to believe that he might have been planning a bigger attack?
Speculation. I'll leave you for your own free will on that speculation, but it remained in the car for some reason. Ricardo?
Is there an estimate
Ricardo?
of how many rounds he fired, and is there an estimate of how many rounds he didn't fire found in the room?
No, just, you know what, I'll give you my personal preview. That'll come out in the public space. No, the rounds haven't been counted yet. There's a lot of evidentiary recovery systems that are taking in place prior to the recovery of the rounds. But there was well in the excess of thousands of rounds still present in the room.
Sheriff, in the leaked photos, there was a yellow, what appeared to be a yellow note. Can you tell us anything about that?
No, I don't. I can't recall.
A suicide note or anything?
No, it was not a suicide note. I'm comfortable in saying that, so.
Sheriff, where is Mary Lou family now, and is she still a person of interest?
Okay, everything to do with Mary Lou Danu, I will have Special Agent Rouse address that. Okay, if you have any questions outside of that, we can circle back on that. Stephanie?
One person's actually by Agent Rouse about Mary Lou Dunley.
Okay, we'll circle back on that. You guys want to know how I know her name? She was eating lunch next to me today and introduced herself. She's from Australia.
Sheriff, do you know what caused him to stop shooting?
Very good question. No, I do not know. I don't know if this is my assumption, only my assumption, and nobody's been able to dispel my assumption as of today. I believe because of his countermeasures placed in the peephole in the hallway, he observed the security guard, and he was in fear that he was about to be breached. So he was doing everything possible to figure out how he could escape at that point. His concern was personal concern versus what was occurring down below him.
Can you tell us anything about what time he shot himself? And can you tell us when?
You know, I don't know how to answer that question because that's the question that's been presented, and we haven't been able to, through the internal investigation of that, to pinpoint exactly if it was heard when he shot himself or did it occur in close proximity of entry. Because you imagine when they breached the door, they use explosive devices. So did it occur in close proximity to that explosive device and we lost it in the audible, or it occurred when we were trying to set up our team in the hallway?
Do you know when the security guard was separated from the other officers?
It was my understanding before I had said he had gotten separated. That was inaccurate. What had happened was he was conducting an investigation based on customers calling in, and he was personally attempting to locate what was occurring. He happened upon that doorway because it was ajar, which keyed his interest. But our officers were in close proximity, so as you can imagine by the timeline there, as soon as they came out of the doorway of the elevator, he was there. So it happened in a matter of seconds. So, hold on, let me finish her.
On the note, can you tell, there was a note for him with the content in there?
What note, the yellow paper?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't, I did a cursory review of the room, but I haven't been provided that information. But I know it was not a suicide note. Yes, sir.
Believe he saw the security guard approaching, that might have caused him to stop shooting. If he hadn't seen the security guard approaching, do you believe the shooting would have continued?
No, and I'm comfortable in saying no, and here's why. Because of the same action the security guard would have occurred with our patrol officer that was approaching up there. We had knowledge. He was between 31 and 32. Remember when you asked before, we said 29 to 32. And then subsequently through that time, it got culled down to 31, 32. A customer, a knowledgeable customer, prior military, said it was occurring directly above him, which subsequently the officers were doing their own checks. He was not aware of what that customer had said, and they were conducting, he was trying to pinpoint it. So our officers had learned, because they had a security guard attached to them, that they had recent information the individual was on 32. Okay, so they would have encountered him shortly in that timeline, maybe 60 seconds. and I would assume the same thing would have occurred.
Sheriff, a question about when he stopped firing and why. You've already indicated that he may have seen the security guard, thought he was going to breach, or no personnel shortly thereafter should have come in and done something similar. Based on the assessment of the weapons that were there, that he was using and had access to, were any of these weapons jammed or inoperable, or could he have continued firing without any problem if he had not seen possibly in the cameras that were there what was coming his way?
He could have continued firing. Some of them were jammed, but he could have continued firing.
Go back with him, you said some were jammed.
Yes.
How many?
I don't know the number, but some, but he had plenty of firepower available.
Do we have any idea, again, stacked?
If you recall, there was 23 weapons recovered. So,
Jammed and then others within reach.
yes. Yes.
Last question on the weapons that he was using. I don't know if we're able to talk about this or not. This guy had a 300-foot high ground and about 500 to 800 yard kill zone. How many of those weapons that he was using and firing had advanced optics on them, either hunting scope, ACOGs, or anything else like that? Was that
Just from my visual preview of the crime scene, I saw at least 3 scopes. Most of them didn't have scopes.
hunting style scopes or advanced collaborated out of the gun sight?
No, from what I know of firearms, they appear to be hunting scopes, not marksmanship scopes.
Sheriff, was the security guard armed, and can you talk about his bravery?
I don't know if he was armed. I don't know the security profile at the Mandalay Bay. I know quite often some security officers are armed, some aren't. Some supervisors, not regular security. I don't know the profile at the Mandalay Bay personally, so I don't know if he was armed. But his bravery was amazing because he remained with our officers, provided them the key pass to access the door, and actually continued to help them clear rooms until our officer demanded that he go seek medical attention.
While injured?
Yes.
Sheriff, can you just...
Let him ask a question.
Activities before the shooting that we've heard from someone who said he was gambling, you know?
Yeah, we are aware he was gambling.
For hours?
I don't know the timeline, but we are aware he was gambling.
Sheriff, ATF agent Snyder confirmed the CBS.
So reference, let me provide some clarification because it'll answer one of the other questions on accomplice. When we did see he was gambling, we did not see another individual that appeared to be a companion. So, I don't recall, ma'am.
Sheriff, Agent Snyder confirmed to CBS News that Paddock bought weapons in October of 2016. He bought some 33 rifles. Are you looking into the possibility that there may have been some kind of a mental issue, something that happened in October of 2016 that compelled him to purchase those weapons?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
What have you uncovered?
I don't have the information. I wish I could provide you, I don't have it. But we are looking, because we keyed on that too, sir.
You suggested that after he saw the security guard, that his concern became himself. Did you see any evidence that he planned to survive this or try to escape?
Yes.
Tell us what's that?
I can't tell you.
So, just to clarify, was it the security guard or the officers coming up who positively identified his location? And
I'm sorry,
was it the
start over.
security guard or your officers arriving that positively identified the gunman's location first?
It was a security guard. The officer had knowledge that it was occurring on the 32nd floor. They assumed that it was at the end of the hallway because the person that had called in said it was occurring directly above him. So they had an assumption, the proximity of the room, but the security guard had confirmed it prior to their arrival.
And can you give us any more detail about the magnitude of the gunfire that he encountered when he was spotted?
Yeah, my personal observation, well over 200 rounds strafed the hallway.
Sheriff, you commented that
So it's amazing that security guard didn't sustain additional injury.
Sheriff, you commented that you believe he had a plan or some kind of organization in mind that was surviving this particular incident. What have you determined that could have given you a clue that he had an escape plan? Funds for accounts, money?
That's just a different way to ask the same question, and I can't answer that for you.
Did the officers fire back at all?
No. No.
Sheriff, you mentioned accomplices. We've talked previously about Marilyn Danley as a person of interest. Are there any other persons of interest in this investigation?
Well, is there any other? No. Concrete? No. We're looking at it this way, Ken. Is there another one? And we're determining to find out if there was. I mean, it's important not to close this case until we run down everything.
Should we ask the terrorist?
Because look at this. I mean, you look at the weapon obtaining, the different amounts of tannerite available. Do you think this was all accomplished on his own? Self-value, face value, you got to make the assumption there, he had to have some help at some point. And we want to ensure that that's the answer. Maybe he's a super guy. Maybe he superhero, not a hero, a super, I won't use the word. Maybe he's, a super Yahoo that was working out all this on his own. But it'd be hard for me to believe that.
And to that, do we need to ask the...
And here's the reason why. Put 1 and 1 together, or 2 and 2 together. Another residence in Reno with several firearms, okay? Electronics and everything else associated with large amounts of ammo. A place in Mesquite. We know that he had a girlfriend. Do you think this is all self-facing? The individuals are just, without talking to somebody, it was sequestered amongst themselves. I mean, come on, folks. These type of investigations have been occurring in the last few years, and we have to evaluate that. So hold on. I'm done, okay? What I want you to do is give Aaron Rouse the opportunity to talk about Mary Lou. He may not have anything for you, okay? But I think it's fair for you to ask him, and then I would like to get to Senator Heller and Commissioner Sisolak. I'm sorry?
Was the car planned for him to take, so there might have been evidence?
Don't ask me to make assumptions, please.
Thank you.
Ken?
We were asking, where is Mary Lou Danley now, and is she still a person of interest in this investigation?
As I mentioned in my comments, people rely on us for our discretion. If someone is assisting us in an investigation, if they're being cooperative, that's between us and them. Giving away a location of a citizen or somebody that is cooperating with us is not in our best interest. It's not in that person's best interest, and so that's a matter of their business. So we're not going to comment on that.
She's not in federal custody.
We have no one in custody.
President Rouse, if I could just ask the same question, without saying anything specific, after seeing his computers, after speaking to Mary Lou, do you have any direction, any sense as to what may have been the motivation? Any sense of it? Any evidence of anything?
So as I mentioned in my earlier remarks, we like to deal in facts. So theories are great, and everyone can have a theory. But I need to deal with facts. The sheriff needs to deal with facts. We're reliant on that to do our jobs. And so that's what we're going to focus on. There are a number of working theories out there, and we're going to continue to use those. But we're not going to publicize them because that's not fair to anyone. We do not want to taint anyone unfairly. We want to make sure that what we have is accurate, and you want us to be accurate. That's what you expect of us.
So did the FBI consider this to be domestic terrorism?
We have found no evidence to this point to indicate terrorism, but this is an ongoing investigation. We're going to continue to look at all avenues. We're not closing down any doors. The best way to do an investigation, the sheriff will tell you this, I'll tell you this, is that you don't go in with assumptions. He's not going to make assumptions, as you just said. I'm not going to make assumptions. We're going in there following the facts. The facts will always lead you to your conclusion. And we hope, very much so, to be able to provide concrete information to the public about why this happened, because that's what's on everyone's mind. Because to understand the why helps you deal with the tragedy that we've all faced, and we've all faced it. So, believe me, we want to know why.
Okay, I want to take this time to give Commissioner Sisolak the opportunity to say a few words.
Thank you.
We will close with.
I'm going to say some things that the sheriff didn't say. When you see these men and women in these uniforms, and the men and women that don't wear the uniforms, but a lot of them have these lapel pins on, I've noticed, you got to tell them thank you. I mean, I've dealt with these folks, been working with them for the last 3 days. They're working on zero sleep. I beg of you to show some patience. I'm hearing the same question asked 3, 4, 5 times in different ways. Speculation coming out of this group. These gentlemen deal exclusively in facts. They're not speculating. There's no conjecture here. They're not dealing with theories. They're dealing with facts. Their primary purpose and their goal is to conclude this investigation in a professional and accurate manner, and I'm totally confident that they're going to do that. They are protecting the citizens of Clark County and the tourists that are here. They have made this city safe again. It is a safe place to come. We encourage that, but I implore you, please, please show some patience and understand that they're not going to deal with conjecture and theories that are coming up on social media. Thank you very much.
My words and comments are similar to what the commissioner just said, and the importance of patience. This incident, horrific incident, is less than 72 hours old. And the reason that I come to these briefings and these press conferences is to listen to the sheriff and learn bit by bit what happened just a little while ago. What I want to express is my gratitude to the sheriff, to the FBI, to the ATF, and for everybody that is keeping us up to date to what is going on, briefing my office and myself. And I also want to express how grateful I am that the President of the United States came in today to express his sincere concerns for this community and understanding what this means. I had a rare occasion to be at 30,000 feet with a couple hours of FaceTime with this particular president, and we talked specifically about the heroes, the individuals, the deputies, the first responders and all that, and what they were able to achieve in a very short period of time. In my cell phone here, I have numerous pictures of survivors from UMC, and I expressed and shared those pictures with the President of the United States so that he could see some of the damages on what had occurred. One in particular was a deputy that was on his second day. I know we've heard this story, second day on the job. He was there. His father was actually at the event as a spectator when the shooting occurred, got hit in the arm, went into his chest. His name is Brady Cook. And I shared this story with the president. The president went up to the 5th floor of UMC and had an opportunity to talk to this young man and express his sincere gratitude for his strengths. I also showed him a picture of a cell phone that had a bullet, an Apple phone that had a bullet through it. And it was a therapist over at UMC. And that bullet went through her phone and hit her hand. She just had tissue damage. She fixed it herself, went back to UMC, and spent hours helping those that had come into the hospital. These stories were important for me to share with the President of the United States as he was coming into this valley and understand the depth of the issue that we had on hand. But it wasn't just that. I also lobbied him on a couple of issues, and one has to do with terrorist funds. Now, I didn't lobby the president because it was important to me. I asked the governor, what should I talk to him about? I asked the mayor, what do you want me to talk to the president about? I asked the sheriff, what do you want me to talk to the president about? And it had to do with these urban terrorist funds that come out of Homeland Security and how important it is that Las Vegas, this strip, has the funding necessary to keep not only its citizens safe, but also those that are visiting this city. It's not enough that we have 2.1 million people that live in this valley, but we have 42 million people that come in every year to visit. And I want to make sure that Las Vegas has the funding, terrorism funding necessary to keep us safe, to buy the equipment that they need, to be able to monitor and to be able to follow up on the issues that they're faced with on a day-to-day basis. So my gratitude continues. My gratitude continues from everybody around the country. About 15 seconds ago, I was sitting right behind her. A cab driver that I used in New York City just sent me a text. We became friends on a ride, but his message was, Senator, myself, my family, and all my drivers want to express our condolences to those touched by the recent weekend shootings. All our best. A cab driver from New York concerned about Las Vegas Valley. So I'm grateful for all my colleagues back in Washington, D.C., grateful for the sheriff, the FBI, the ATF, all the work that's being done. The healing has begun, but it's been less than 72 hours. We have a long way to go. Thank you very much for being here today.
All right, that will conclude today's press conference. So as a matter of moving forward, I can't give you a definitive time for tomorrow. I anticipate these press conferences will stay at a minimum or at a maximum once a day because their leads aren't changing that fast for us to address this group. The one thing I wanted to talk to each and every one of you in this room, thank you. Thank you very much. You have been very professional. You have not been overwhelming, and I appreciate your candor and your ability to express exactly what occurred in the Las Vegas Valley. So thank you, and hopefully you have a great night. Thank you.
Commissioner?